G'day, I'm Pete, I'm the Aussie Bush Cop. In 2012, I retired from the New South Wales Police because of mental health issues. And now I get to live on beautiful King Island where I'm a homesteader. I have beautiful dogs like this. And I'd like to share with some of my stories with you. G'day, thanks so much for being here again. And the story I'm going to share with you today was one that caused me quite a bit of consternation and even fear. A lot of what police do is of course routine, but routine just means it happens all the time. And this particular story is to do with a dreaded domestic. And when I speak to people and they tell me about or their views on policing, they invariably say that domestics must be the worst thing you ever go to. I don't actually think that's true. I think domestics were of course horrible, but there were worse things that we went to than domestics. But this one I'm going to share with you requires a little bit of explanation. And in New South Wales, there was a thing called an apprehended domestic violence order. And they were issued by a justice, which means it's well above, it's either a registrar of the court or a magistrate. Anyway, and when an order is breached, it's certainly incumbent on the police to go and arrest the offender. And when the female, called her the wife, came to the police station and told us what had happened, there was an inspector on duty, and we decided that we were going to go and arrest this bloke on that particular night, even though we had the woman safe and we could ensure her safety. The onus the thrust was well and truly on going and arresting him and charging him. Trouble is that he was living on a farm. And of course, farms almost by nature are isolated. They almost certainly will have firearms on the property. If you're not from Australia, if you're from North America or the United States, you might not know that firearm ownership in Australia is probably nowhere near what it is in the USA. There's no right to own a firearm in this country, for example. But you have to factor in that it'll almost certainly be a firearm when we go to a farm, because that's how they have to put animals down and hunt vermin. But the lady in this job told us that in every doorway in her home, her husband had a large knife jammed in between the door and the door jamb in the framework of the door. Now, sometimes, it's easy to exaggerate, but she wasn't exaggerating. So we found out as much as we could from her, because none of us had ever been to this farm before, and we had to arrive in secret. And the house was about 100 metres, I would say, maybe no more than 100 metres. I would say a few hundred metres off the road. So there was a driveway, just a gravel dirt driveway down to the farmhouse. And like a lot of farmhouses, and they had outbuildings around it, and junk, rubbish, lengths of timber, steel, you name it, pipe, laying around the buildings, which makes it hard to navigate at night, especially when you don't know the place. And of course, we couldn't go down there with torches shining, because that of course illuminates where we are and makes us vulnerable to being shot or otherwise attacked. So there was 4 police that went down there, 2 what you call truck crews. So we walked down to this house. And so we went down, and we, with great quietness, speaking sparingly, especially when we got closer to the home, but we could see inside the home one light. So it was in darkness, but there was one light that seemed to be in towards the middle of the home that was illuminated. And so we went down there. We tried as much as we could to surreptitiously have a look and see where he might have been. And we announced our office, but he didn't come to the door. So we knew from, let's call her the victim, that he was inside. Her information was quite fresh. She told us he was inside. There was a light inside. And whilst we didn't have a warrant to arrest him, as a warrant given by a court, we certainly had the power to enter against his permission, based on the information that we had. So we, you might say, faced with no other option, we then had to forcibly enter his home, which we did. We kicked in the door, went in, and effected the arrest without any trouble. And then we then had to, after we had him under arrest, one of us, or maybe two of us, walked back up to the road and got the truck and drove the truck down there and put him in the back of the truck. I then had a look around, of course, which is what we're lawfully entitled to do. When we are attending a domestic, we're lawfully entitled to search for weapons, especially firearms. So we did that, and in every door there was a large carving knife. And that just meant that he was ready and equipped for a serious battle or fight of some kind. And so it was resolved all peacefully, I guess you might say. But walking down that long driveway in the dark, and before we got him under arrest, there was, I might say, a level of disquiet in my mind. Thanks for watching.